Welcome, everybody, to Den Excelsior, the mostly Marvel show. This is episode 172, talking about Daredevil Born Again. But more importantly, I'll be talking about Daredevil with, of course, Dennis. I was a friend of the show, Dennis, but you are the show.
I'm the most friendly of the show. Yeah.
But you have the second most friendly of the show. Is that how that logic works in?
I don't know. I'm gonna let you just dig your own hole here. What are you trying to say?
Let's just say I'm a big friend of the show.
Yeah.
There you go.
Not part of the show, but I am very happy to be here. About as happy as I am that Daredevil is back. So
I see.
Clarke, by the way.
Clarke understood the assignment.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's
He
wearing.
doesn't get a W-2 from us, so it's all good.
He's wearing a Daredevil shirt. I'm wearing a Daredevil adjacent shirt. What are you wearing, Ricky?
He's wearing Daredevil's original costume.
Yeah.
Without the mask. There, I saved you, Ricky.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, if I put on glasses, I feel like that's like appropriation.
That's ableism. It's some sort of ableism or something. Yeah, thanks for joining us, Clarke. I know it was kind of short notice, but I realized, like, you know, it's Daredevil, and you love Daredevil, and I didn't. I know I briefly talked to you about the show, like the night it aired.
Yes,
Tuesday night. Yeah.
It's kind of weird being on Disney, not having the Netflix all the episodes at once.
They're milking this shit.
Yeah.
You know what though? Like, I'm actually really happy because I think we had so many years of Netflix conditioning that, like, I kind of miss, I actually like the Disney reconditioning of episodic, like, storytelling that you get once a week, because I think it proves that, like, it increases the amount of the conversation that's had, right? Like, because if you watch everything all in one weekend, the water cooler talk starts and ends starts Monday and it's over by Friday. You know what I mean? But at least
people are pissed because they're dropping Andor three episodes at a time.
Oh, that's too many.
In 4 weeks.
Yeah,
that's too many. Why are they doing that? But, like, I really dig that Daredevil's going to carry us all the way into, like, May. You know what I mean? Like, that's. I know that there's more of them too, so it's kind of a bummer that, like, out of the 18, we're only getting half of them right now. But it's okay, and they're calling the other 9
season 2
now. Yeah. Like, I'm like, when they announced this project, they're like, it's going to be 18 episodes, and I'm like, I knew you couldn't do it.
I'm okay because of the reason, you know, because they had to stop and redo it and rethink it.
Yeah, it's true.
Did they?
Yes.
I know they did. I know what you're referring to, but the hoops they jumped through in that first episode.
The reason, Ricky, I'm going to really say that is because it changed the way that Marvel was making these series. Because before that, they were making them like movies. They were letting the showrunners film all the episodes, do the whole, you know, kind of like if you throw a lot of these 30, 40-minute things together, it makes about a 3-hour movie. And so they were letting the showrunner make all the episodes and then try to make the changes and look at it and go, well, let's think about this.
Yeah.
And so for this, they realized, okay, we need to change that because we're not getting the product, the quality that we want, because we're not having a showrunner. We're letting the directors just finish everything. So it slowed down the production a little bit, and it made them look at, okay, we need to look and see how this production is going before we finish all of it, and can't change things before everything's already filmed. And so I think it's a very significant change in how Marvel Television was making their stuff.
Yeah.
And hopefully for the better.
I think it's for the better so far. Like, I think ever since Loki, you know, season 2, we've been on an upswing for Marvel TV. I think did Echo come after that, or
Echo.
Are you talking about live action TV or just Marvel TV?
Live action.
Marvel TV.
Marvel.
Yes.
Well, you're right. Well, because X-Men '97 was fantastic.
Yeah. I think Spider-Man's pretty good.
Yes, I haven't finished it, but I'm enjoying
What
it.
If season 3?
Yeah.
I think What If season 3 is like whatever. It's whatever it is, but it's not terrible TV.
What
it's
if
just,
whatever?
But I'm saying like
the
TV that we've gotten since Loki season 2 has been pretty solid, minus possibly Echo. But even Echo had Vincent D'Onofrio in it. He killed it. I liked Vincent D'Onofrio in it. I don't like the things they did with Echo. Like they got all magical with it, and it was like, why does she need to? I don't know why Echo can't just be deaf Daredevil, because that's cool too. They had to give her supernatural powers also, and I was like, that's a reach, guys. It didn't need that. And she was connected to was it like Native American aliens or something like that? I don't even know what that was. I don't.
She had a cool costume.
Sure. But anyways, I'm not here to rag on Echo. That's not what we're doing. We're going to talk about Daredevil today, but we're also going to talk about all the things we nerded out on, and possibly, we'll talk a little bit about Invincible and Harley Quinn, because those are shows that we nerd out on also, some of us more than others, and they come out every week right now. I think thankfully next week Invincible finally ends for the season, and then Harley Quinn goes another week after that. Honestly, today I was watching Harley Quinn, and when it ended, I'm like, how many more of these we got? And I had to go back and look at another season, and I'm like, damn, man, this show just keeps going. It's okay. It's okay. I know that Clarke and Ricky didn't watch it.
I'm not cut up on Harley.
Collective we when you said watching Harley Quinn.
I know.
He's including his amazing wife.
We did do many episodes of this show talking about Harley back in the day, so I refuse to abandon it.
And I do like the show, so I do want to catch up, because the writing on that show is amazing.
Yeah, but I will say that I think I've watched 2 episodes since the last time we recorded. They all right. Like the episode where they did a musical was the peak of this season for sure. And then after that, it's like, okay, I'm ready for you to wrap it up now.
I love musical episodes.
Yeah, but Batman is hilarious when he shows up because he's there. I told you that I don't want to spoil it for Clarke now, but
no,
things are happening that are not world ending, but Brainiac's in it. Okay, Lena Luthor's in it.
Okay,
and I think
Harley Quinn version of Brainiac has got to be hilarious.
It's all right. It's not as hilarious as you think, but yeah, I will let you know in 2 weeks how I feel about the whole thing. But right now, I'm just watching it. It's 24 minutes of my time. It's mildly entertaining. Some things
too much.
Too much. It's
of your time.
That's too much of my time. Wow, you really fell off on Harley Quinn, didn't you? All right. Yeah. Well, I'll ask you this: did you watch Invincible this week?
I did.
Whoa, you're caught up?
No, I'm close.
Oh, you didn't watch
last week's
episode.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That feels great still. I have no I like where we didn't read the book, so where the story is going is relatively new to me.
Which episode are you on?
I'm on 4 or 5. I can't remember how many I watched.
Well, I'll tell you this: the story's not going where you think it's going.
I know a bunch of.
It takes a hard left turn.
I know people come back.
It takes a left turn, and where I thought the show was going earlier in the season is clearly not where it's going anymore. Yeah.
Are we discussing the show? Because you just brought up a point. Okay.
We are.
Because that's something when you first start watching Invincible.
You can spoil it. I'm fine.
You're like, oh my gosh, they're killing everybody.
Yeah.
And then you keep watching Invincible, and one of the things you don't know what's going to happen, and you're like, wow, this is, people really can die. And then as you keep watching it, you realize, oh, this is still a comic book.
A lot of people
they bring back a lot of people.
Yeah, people
like
come back a lot.
People that really, you're like, okay, that really, how do they come back? And so the body reconstruction that they have in this show, which they would need to.
Yeah. A character died this week, and like I didn't even feel anything when it happened.
That's exactly my point, because I didn't feel anything, because I was like, okay.
I knew it was going to happen. I was like, okay, that character's going to die.
And then they set him up totally for that, and I was like, yeah, he's probably going to come back.
Yeah, that's
remade.
That's kind of frustrating, and but other than that, like I think I like the gore more than the actual death, because like I don't believe the gore means anything. It's just cool looking animation. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, it's
the gore is what I get through to see the good show. It's too much gore for me. I don't like it. But the writing, and there's other things about the show that go in different directions that I really like, that I wasn't expecting. I'm like, oh, that is good. But the other thing that I really, really realized is that I do not want to live in a world with superheroes. I don't. After The Boys and Invincible,
the story is like,
which are way more realistic of how we would fare in a world of superpowered people.
The collateral damage in Invincible is at the highest level of destruction. Like I like just any time. Like it makes me laugh about like the beginning of Batman versus Superman, because they made that seem like that was the craziest thing that ever happened. And it's like, yeah, I guess, like, but you should go watch Invincible, because that happens every week, just about. You know, like it's like every week, just entire city blocks get just decimated. And it does do something. It desensitizes you to a lot of what happens. So like, I think it escalated so much this season that like I couldn't feel anything for the deaths. Like the injuries are like, oh well, they'll recover from that broken bone or stuff. You know, like it. So I will say I do believe that the writing is incredible. Like, you know, for like the deep family moments and like and dealing with traumas and stuff like that. But I think all the superhero-ness of it is getting kind of boring for me in the show, and that's kind of weird. Like,
they do put people on ice for like a minute when they do kill people off. At least
I don't think that they really do. I think it's that the show takes so damn long for another season to come back, and that's why it feels like it's on ice.
The same point.
That's not the same thing. No, because if you're one day binge watching the whole show because you never watched Invincible, you're not going to have that gap, and you're going to be like, that character was just gone for like a minute. You know what I mean? Like it's all relative to like, it's like the amount of time a production takes should not factor into how long a character was on ice. It should be a number of episodes in between the last time you saw
time is relative.
But as you realize, more and more that, how many of the characters have powers that allow them to regenerate. And then you add the technology that Cecil has on that put the $6 million man to shame. We can rebuild him. We can make him strong. It does remove some of that aspect, but I still really enjoy the discussions that they have.
Yes,
really about the trauma and about what it's like being a superhero and the people that you can't save. And the frustrations and like that, even though it has the argument again that like, okay, two superpowers are fighting and they're both at fault. I'm like, okay, that's sort of been drawn out. That wasn't as interesting, but it was much more interesting when you see him go to the memorial as Mark. And
as a real person.
And I really like what they're doing, with Mark and Eve. And how they're they're discussing, what it means to be a superhero. And then I'm also really enjoying seeing with Mark and Cecil how Mark is still mad at Cecil and still rebelling against him, but I keep seeing Cecil's part more and more, especially as
Cecil's like not
a human
wrong at all.
No, Cecil like says you can do it.
You be the good guy or the guy who saves the world.
Yeah, or the guy that saves the world. Yeah,
that is a great line.
Cecil is a really cool take on Nick Fury. That's what he's supposed to be. The other family or the other character moments I actually really enjoy are Mark's mom and Paul. I think Paul trying to find a way to be part of everybody's lives, and even though he knows he's just a regular dude, it's really, how do you have conversations with somebody who just went and saved the world today, and be like, that's kind of like my job. And it's like, well, it's not, but I appreciate the human desire to want to connect with somebody through relating your story to their story to your own. It's cute. It's there's very good human moments on that show, and that's I think why I keep watching it. And I love Steve Yeun in that show. I love that in this episode you got to have Steve Yeun play a bunch of characters, and that was really fun to hear his range a little bit and stuff. And so it's a great show. It was the penultimate episode. We'll see where that ends next week, but probably a lot of punching is going to happen. Probably.
Yeah, and
probably that's usually
what buildings happens. Falling down and stuff, or we'll see if you can take it to outside the city.
Yeah, for sure.
But
what about you, Ricky? What else have you been nerding out on besides those things?
A little bit more Malcolm. A little bit more. What else have I been nerding out on? A little bit more Malcolm. That's about it. Malcolm, I feel like I'm missing something. Yeah, Malcolm in the Middle. It's just great. What am I missing though? Severance.
Wait, are you're catching up? So you're watching Malcolm in the Middle?
I think he's doing a rewatch, right?
So I'm technically I'm rewatching it, but you got to remember when I was watching that show when it came out.
Right, you must have been really young.
Yeah, I came at it from Malcolm's perspective.
You were 5, right?
Yeah, 5. I'm around. I think am I close to the same age as Frankie Muniz?
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I think you're around.
But watching it as an adult now, you're like, man, these kids are terrible. It's also fun to see all the places they shoot, in LA. Some of the locations that are there and stuff that's not there anymore.
As a They Might Be Giants fan, it's always fun to hear their music throughout the show. It's a good show. I like it.
Yeah, it is a good show.
It definitely was. And
Clarke and I have been nerding out on Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League.
Now that it's on
another
PSN
Brainiac
Plus,
game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You like that? Is that a good game?
We see why it failed.
Yeah, I like this story. I think the gameplay is pretty meh. And that makes me sad considering it's the same people who made the Arkham series. Well, it's the same studio. It's clearly not the same people who made the Arkham series. But it's okay enough that Clarke and Ian and I are playing it just to see the story. But it's kind of like a poor man's Borderlands. You know what I mean? But
I really don't like Borderlands. So I don't know if I like this game.
No, you wouldn't.
You're not supposed. I mean, we're playing it just to get through it, and because it was free on the PS. I'm glad I didn't pay money.
I don't
worry online. You don't have to play the game.
Yeah, well, I'd rather play the game.
It's better to experience it.
Yeah,
and they have some really talented storytellers and such, and you do now that we've played it, and it again, I'm playing it with my friends. If I was playing it, I've tried to play it solo a number of times. It hasn't worked. Now that I'm actually playing it with friends, it works better.
But any game that's a vessel for
Yeah, it is fun to see evil Batman and like truly evil Batman. Like, what if Batman murdered people using Batman skills in the dark, and like you're generally scared of Batman? I like that so far. So
Kevin Conroy's, I guess it's not a swan song, but one of the last thing he did, right?
Yeah. One of the last ones, but and then I've been.
Keep going, Clarke. Keep going.
I've been finishing shows off that I've been meaning to finish. I just finished 911 Lone Star. I don't know if you guys ever seen that. That's with Rob.
That's the one with the bees. Where's the bee NATO?
Yes. Well, it had bees.
The only clip I've seen of Lone Star is the stupid one where they're frozen.
Yeah.
The dude's frozen and Rob Lowe like punches through his chest.
It's it's a silly show, but I've enjoyed it, and so it just ended. It just finished its season like around.
Somebody got frozen and their chest got a hole punched through it.
Yeah, dude. Like they're frozen, and Rob Lowe's like, "I gotta start compressions," and he starts compressions. And he just like bursts through his chest.
Like the Thing, except it didn't, clamp on him. But yeah.
Oh my gosh!
And they had a volcano
like
in Austin. Face. And it ends with an asteroid hitting Austin. So like, all this stuff. I like 911 in LA for the same reason, because I just like seeing all the crazy emergencies they keep coming up with, in LA and such. But then, so the show ended, and it had its final episode, and I enjoyed it. So I like those procedurals.
What was Clarke? What was your take on Captain America 4?
Oh, I liked it. I give it a B-.
Okay.
Because I see like the rewrites, like it was kind of weird. Like, for example,
is it the worst Captain America movie?
Yes.
Is it?
Well, because you guys know I love one more than you guys do.
I love one too.
We all love one.
I don't think it's better than one. I question like
Ricky asked me. I don't like that. I don't like that question because I've enjoyed every single Captain America movie.
But do you really consider Civil War to be a Captain America movie?
No, it is Avengers 2.5.
That's what like I holding what you said true. I've enjoyed every single movie that's called Captain America. I don't mean when I say that that's technically the worst one, in my opinion, I don't mean it's a bad movie. I just mean it's actually not a Captain America movie in the same respect as the first two, or Sam's. You know what I mean? Like that's what I mean. So that's my argument.
Like Winter Soldier is still Cap's movie, even though it has a lot of other characters.
Yeah, it's still Cap's movie for sure.
Yeah, Civil War it's Cap and Iron Man's movie, and then with all the other Avengers, it is Avengers 2.5.
It's kind of a hot mess, but it's fun. It's fun to watch all the.
I still really enjoy it.
Yeah,
and I still like it. And I love the introduction.
Yeah, Endgame's a hot mess too. But it's a wonderful. It's just fun to watch the toys play. But when Ricky asked me that question, I had to stop myself and be like,
do a mental loophole.
I was like, you know what? I think it's not a worse Cap movie than Civil War, because like
I think a solid B is fine for Cap 4, and that's a B's a passing grade.
I mean, with the rewrites that it had to do, and I don't know what all that it changed, but
it gave us a Red Hulk on top of the White House, man. That's good enough for me. That stuff's hilarious. Like that's cracked me up.
I did like Red Hulk, but it was interesting. Clearly, when they were writing the movie, I guess they somehow thought that Red Hulk was supposed to be a surprise, because they keep teasing Red Hulk. They keep teasing him. They show the steam coming up, but but we all know it. But the point is then they put Red Hulk in all the advertising.
Yeah, they had to.
Which they did. There was definitely disconnect between the writers of the movie and the advertising team, but that's fine. But I love Sam. I really liked Captain America and the Winter Soldier. I'll call it that. and I like the continuation of his story, and I want more of him. I liked him. I liked him as Cap. I liked I liked the new Falcon. Which was good. I agree. I think we kind of had this discussion. What was her name? The little girl. I don't know.
Sabra, but they'll never call her Sabra.
Yeah. She's no Yelena. I'll just say that.
No one is Yelena. Like
I
honestly, I'll take Yelena over ScarJo all day. Like that's where I'm at. Like I love Yelena more. So
I can't wait for Thunderbolts.
I know. She's just
a big part because of Yelena. Yeah.
She's just a phenomenal actress,
So Sabra was kind of weird because I was never tired. They didn't really explain where she's from and what her powers are.
I mean, they said where she's
a
from.
Black Widow, and she's got a super suit, or she's got a Black Widow suit under her jacket for some reason.
Reasons why, but like, she was fine. She had the dance, but she had the costume,
and she's technically disabled.
She did some flips. She's not.
Mm-hmm.
She is technically disabled.
No, she's not.
Yeah, you can get a disabled placard if you're 5 feet or smaller.
Is she 5 feet or smaller?
Yes.
I thought it was the most unbelievable part was that she's 25 and she's like the president's #1 security. I guess if you're a former Black Widow, that makes sense.
But sure, but I feel like she was like.
Well, the president was surrounded by a lot
Black
of
Widow
young
he could get
security people.
I don't feel like she was the best Black Widow. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but
that was the bargain bin Black Widow.
Yeah.
Not because she's disabled, just because like she just wasn't fun.
I mean, is it the highest ranking job you can get with being a Black Widow on your resume?
Probably not. Probably like the person, the Black Widow who assassinated a president.
I think Avengers are pretty high.
Yeah.
High level job.
Too. Yeah. It's okay. I've been nerding out on Reacher, by the way. I love that show.
Yeah. The big man.
I started the new season. I'm not caught up, so I need to catch up. I'm with you. I really enjoyed Reacher. The show that I just finished that you really liked last year, that you finished on time, that I did not, is Evil. So I finally finished the end. The whole thing.
That's a bummer, right? Evil. Because that show had no reason to get canceled. Like
Luke Cage and Friends.
That show could have kept going.
That show absolutely could have kept going.
If you ask any of the cast, they say that all the time. Like they're just like they don't understand why they got canceled.
If for no other reason, when they started messing with us for skipping the opening credits, I thought that was hilarious.
But like that show has repeatedly been on like numerous critics like top like 10 shows of the year every time. And so they just don't understand why they got canceled. Like, and it ends strong too. It's just like it just feels like, why did you need to end? But I love him so much more on as David than I do as Luke Cage. I'm trying to remember Michael
Coulter.
Yeah, Coulter.
And he's why I started watching the show in the first place. He's fantastic. Yeah. I really like him.
You come for him, but you stay for what's her name in the show?
Doctor.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Kate.
She's great. She's great.
Yes,
I'm trying to remember the actual actress's name.
It's something like
Katja Herbers. Katja
yeah.
Herbers. Yeah, she's been in a lot of stuff.
Yes, just her daughters though. Look, I grew up with 4 sisters. Thankfully, they never all spoke at the same time, like those 4 sisters. The fact that they had like a hive mind, so that they were. I almost said that when we were complaining about how much talking was in Suicide Squad. I'm like, it's like the 4 sisters from Evil. There's too much talking.
Oh,
I know that's part of their identity, but I'm just like, whoa, that just got annoying, especially if you binge.
I don't recommend binging that show. That's intense. That's intense.
well, I had to take breaks.
Yeah, some of those episodes are genuinely scary, and I was like, I think I'm always impressed by any show that can scare you after the first season. Like if it's like how I know Supernatural. If you ever go and watch the original Supernatural show, the first 4 episodes are genuinely scary, and then like as an audience member and as the people making the show, they're like, well, this is not sustainable, right? Like we can't like every week have these guys, in mortal danger and make the audience believe they're actually going to die, because that's not going to work, right? And so they just kind of pivoted to a little bit more comedy and a little bit more brotherly love and like fun X-Files adventures, but not really scary, but outside of X-Files, it's very rare to see a show manage to have scary episodes so far into the actual run of it. Like it's a challenge.
Well, I mean, you haven't watched Doctor Who has some pretty scary episodes.
Scary special effects, and they look bad.
Just it does, but
I'll take your word for it because I'm not watching.
I know
million episodes of that show. All right, well, I think that was enough talking about all the nerdy things. Do you got any news for us, Ricky?
I do got some news. Oh, I thought you were going to say something. Okay, so let's go. Where to begin? The biggest news that probably came out in the past week. A lot of stuff kind of got a little leaked out. If you guys all saw some of that. So
I couldn't help it.
Some concept art. I can't think of the specific artist, concept artist where the art came from, but a bunch of art got leaked.
He's probably looking for work right now.
Art from Fantastic Four, art from presumably a Doomsday, some Vision Quest stuff, maybe even some Secret War stuff in there. The most tantalizing bit, I think, probably was the look at what a Doom could look like. But again, there's a bevy of other images, so I just want to get you guys.
Did you happen to see them, Clarke?
I did. I saw a TikTok.
We all can look away.
I couldn't.
That was quite a train wreck, man. Like
it was a lot.
It is a lot. It is, art, production art, and it can change. And one of the reasons why I buy all those art books, Marvel art books that I love, is seeing the different versions of the characters. But I will be honest, in the stuff that I saw, I'm not disappointed.
Yeah, to Clarke's point, this stuff is.
It was juicy.
It's juicy, but it's early. Like production art for No Way Home had America Chavez. There was a Daniel Craig in Doctor Strange for a hot minute. So they're
that's why I'm not too worried about spoilers.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Doctor Doom's characters in Doomsday though.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I expect him to be in his armor. And so I expect that armor to look good, and
like the art
looked fantastic. That looked really good.
I also like seeing the Hulk Village.
Yeah, I thought that was. I know that was that's a big difference, but I'm like, you know what? They keep trying to pull parts of Planet Hulk into stuff, and that concept and the idea of the Hulk being more comfortable somewhere other than Earth.
Yeah.
Or, away, and that is a big part of the character. And so, and since they still are, I think, stuck with the requirement from Universal to not have a solo Hulk movie, it's just like, do this character right.
I like Star-Lord and Vision on the couch.
Star-Lord and Vision was cool. Dupe was cool.
Yeah, that like, I mean, there's so many pieces of that art that Dupe could easily be something that makes the cutting room floor. You could just tell by the way he's kind of like just shoehorned into the side of that picture. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't even like a different looking dupe. It just looked like they copy and pasted dupe from the comics and just stuck him in there. But yeah, it's dupe. It's dupe.
Azuri, the World War II Black Panther.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what that was?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, that's what the file name was.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll see.
So
yeah.
it probably was that.
Got it. Yeah.
But some cool stuff.
I see you didn't bring any of the pictures with you.
No, I'm not going to put any pictures up of that.
Yeah, I only saw that video once.
Okay.
And the guy was like,
live.
The Young Avengers were cool looking, like they together.
Yeah, and like we know they've been pushing for that, and I want them to. They've been building to that so much. If they don't have, at least
Haley Steinfeld is older than ScarJo now.
When ScarJo was in the Avengers, yes.
Yeah.
She's gonna be an older Avenger than the original Avenger was.
For sure.
But she's
I still want Hawkeye season 2, which is coming, so I'm happy. I like her Kate Bishop.
Maybe she'll go beat up Kingpin again.
Oh yeah, she did do that.
She's the vigilante.
Mm-hmm. She'll pop up in this show.
I thought Echo was the vigilante that beat him up.
Well, it's hard to say because one kicked his ass and then the other one shot him in the face.
Yes.
So which one is he referring to? Hard to say. Probably Echo, but
no, he did say one shot him in the face.
No, he said he was attacked by a vigilante.
No, but he mentions when he's talking with Daredevil in the diner that.
Oh, he says his adopted daughter shot him in the face. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but yeah, we're getting ahead of ourselves. We'll talk about it in a minute. You got any other news?
There were a ton of Marvel Legends got announced. The Daredevil, of course, an Archangel,
Archangel,
Kurt Angle,
Archangel,
Angel.
Yeah. The Archangel, I think, is a remake, right? Because we have that version before.
No, well, he has some extra bits with his wings.
Yeah, he has extra bits, but I'm saying like we have a gray X-Force version. I'm pretty sure I do. Yes.
I mean, I'm pretty sure you have one.
No, it was a Comic-Con exclusive. It came out at Comic-Con many years ago. It was Archangel, Psylocke, and
X-Force.
Yeah, it was Archangel, Psylocke, and
specific one. I remember that.
Maybe a Wolverine. I think it was a Wolverine. It was the three.
New head sculpt.
Mm-hmm. That's fair, but
I a ton of Spider-Man 2, the video game figures. All the skins. Villains like Kingpin, Daredevil, Kingpin, Venom, and I guess Black
Cat. And then like the Boricua costume for Miles. I thought that was pretty cool. There's a straight up Puerto Rican flag on a Spider-Man toy. That's awesome. Cool. That is cool. Yeah, I forgot about those ones that got announced. Yes. I can give you a weird segue. I've become mildly obsessed with DC icons.
What are DC icons?
It was a toy line that came out in like
is that free McFarlane?
Yes.
The ones those are nice.
The 6-inch ones.
Yeah, those are nice.
But apparently, like, yeah.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that's a segue. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it was like I don't know if it was because they lost the license or because I think it was because the line itself just wasn't like heavily purchased or whatever. But they ended the line after only 28 figures, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So there's only 28 figures made, and so like now that I know that, and I've been watching tons of videos of like the reviews and stuff, and I like seeing people like put them side by side with Marvel Legends.
Is hitting.
Yeah, but I'm like I could do.
They're nice. They're nice boxes too.
I could do 28. I could do 28 figures.
Well, the other news that came out of Toy Fair, right?
Is that McFarlane's got some new licenses? He lost a license, but he's got some new ones too.
But he lost the DC license.
He did,
and it's going back to Mattel.
Yeah,
who makes the DC icons?
No, they did not make the DC icons. DC icons were made by DC Collectibles. That's why they were good. That was the weird,
Ah.
awkward part about DC for a long time, is there was DC Direct and Mattel, and they shared the license. So DC Direct was making a lot of more like almost action figures, you know, where they don't really pose a lot and stuff. And then Mattel was making all the action figures, like for kids and stuff like that. And then DC Direct tried something special
this was back when they were doing, what was it, the streaming service?
Yeah, I think it might have been. We saw the DC icons at a Comic-Con many years ago. Like
I'm pretty sure I had an icon. They are nice toys.
They're nice. Yeah, they come with cool accessories and stuff. But I remember at the time I saw them on display and I was like, oh no. I was like, I can't afford another line like this. Like I can't do it. And so I ended up just saying no to this, and I looked away, and I didn't know that like it was only 2 years later the line ended, because they just I think maybe a lot of people felt the way I did.
They're only about like, $25 a pop.
We can't. Well, they were. They're not anymore. Well, some of them are. But I did get an Aquaman just to try it out.
Static Shock for 20. Oh my god!
His name's just Static.
The listing sir said Static Shock.
Well, they're wrong, because his name is Static. It's always been Static. The name of the TV show is Static Shock. But yeah, do you know what licenses McFarlane picked up? Like,
nope.
After he has now got the licenses for classic Mortal Kombat and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That's still a net loss, right?
I don't know that it's a net loss.
But the Turtles are not exclusive, right? Because everyone makes Turtle toys. Well,
NECA has a different license for Turtles also, but I think he put a good stamp on DC.
Like, that Static figure he comes with the hat.
You're looking at DC icons now.
Yeah,
they go down a rabbit hole. The only problem I will say is the line, I guess, like when they started versus where they ended, the characters got bigger because fans complained. Because when the line first came out, every character is like a half an inch shorter than a Marvel Legend, and it's really awkward looking. They're like, my Aquaman's so small. He looks very cute, but I only got the Aquaman because he was like super cheap, like because he's Aquaman, right? Like he was like 20. He was still $27, like that. He was basically almost his retail price today. But I got him just to see what it looks like, and it's like, yeah, they're pretty good. They're cool. So I made a wish list for my wife to like for the next few years. She now has a goal. Because I do like, I do the toy photography, and I really like having options, and people are always like, you should do a photo of the Flash, and I'm like, I wish I had the Flash.
You're saying I don't need that bag of hand ninja toys with Stiltman feet anymore?
You don't have to get me Stiltman. You don't need to get me hand ninjas if you don't want to. It's fine. But yeah, I did make an Amazon wish list that has like all the toys that I have not been purchasing lately and stuff. So, but yeah, it's pretty cool. Anyways, that was, I do appreciate that you brought up the McFarlane thing, because that is a big deal. A lot of collectors out there are feeling a certain way, because like, I remember how I felt when Toy Biz, who had been making Marvel Legends for a long time, like 5 or 6 years, when they lost that license, I was like, what did I mean,
it's not even
do this all for? Like
it's safe to say that McFarlane was more prolific with output.
Well, a lot of people will say that McFarlane Toys made a lot of Batman, but so did Mattel. Like, let's be real.
But Mattel they had toys coming out.
They did. They had a lot of. They had a lot of products.
They didn't do Build-A-Figures, but they did
do Build-A-Figures.
They often did like bigger figures though.
Yes, but they did Build-A-Figures in the McFarlane line, which was something that the previous thing had not done, I think. So,
you got a card, you got a comic and some.
Yeah, they were offering a pretty good value, especially relative to Marvel Legends. McFarlane was offering you bigger figures with more stuff for the same price, and so it's pretty cool. Like it's sad. I feel bad for everybody who was invested in those DC figures, because they've they have to sit there and wait. They have to wait for about a year to find out, okay, am I restarting? You know what I mean?
Trash.
Yeah. That's kind of my thing, is like I love DC, I really do, but I don't love the variety of characters nearly as much. So that's why like this icons fetish I have right now is kind of cool, because it's like
You know you can finish it.
I can finish it, and it's also a very select specific group of people. You know what I mean?
Today's payday, and I can
Lex
get this
Luthor's in
static
there,
right now.
Joker's in there, you know, like Darkseid's in there. What else? You know, like, do I really need like
Dead Man?
More? Yeah, Dead Man's in there for some reason. You know, there's some weird ones for sure. See, I love that you guys are both looking at this now. And then they made a Justice League 7-pack, like, and it's funny because it's not a reissue of the figures from the beginning of the wave. It's actually all the characters that they originally made scaled up about a half an inch. So so they are bigger and sometimes a little more altered and stuff. So yeah. But anyways, there you go. That's I gave you a little weird connective tissue to the McFarlane thing. Yeah. But yeah, I feel bad. RIP the McFarlane multiverse. But I actually am kind of excited to see the turtles that he makes. Like, I think because I think right, the turtles
are like comics turtles, because they do splinter those out.
They have a lot. I mean, I think you can do a lot of different turtles. By the way, did you see the PlayStation Plus, like the free stuff that we got this month? We got the Konami like Turtles Cowabunga collection for anybody who has PlayStation Plus. It's 13 Ninja Turtles games, but there's actually a menu where you can go and look in the layer, and there's all these bonus promotional things. So you can look at the box art for every single box from the games that they did. You can look at the game manuals. They even have like the Nintendo logo and stuff on them. I was surprised to see that. And then you can see like concept art, and then you can they go even further. You can see the comic cover of every single Ninja Turtles comic, like ever, even ones that have nothing to do with all those games from the 80s. That, you know, like we're talking about the IDW comics and stuff like that. And then you can look at the TV shows, and they even have the rise of the Ninja Turtles, like the Nickelodeon stuff. Like, it's really weird. So it's like a game that was released in partnership with Konami and Nickelodeon. But it like really celebrates the legacy of all Ninja Turtles. And I think
haven't checked it out yet, but
that's potentially what that toy line could be. If he gets that license, he could do Turtles from all the different, you know, things. Like, we know he cranks out volume, you know, so
yeah,
we'll see. But the thing I like about Ninja Turtles is it's a very attainable collection, right? Because it's like
you just need 4 of them.
Yeah, you get it, right? You just need 4, and then a Bebop and a Rocksteady
and a Bebop Rocksteady Splinter.
Did you see the NECA Bebop Rocksteady from the movie? Like their take on what a movie Bebop and Rocksteady would be.
Oh no, I haven't seen those.
It's part of that line, like their movie line, but it's
okay.
It's done in that style, as if they were in that movie.
Yeah, that kind of cool. That's interesting. See, you got me on toy talk now, and that's where we are.
All right,
get us off of this. Get us off of this.
It's boy talk now.
Boy talk.
Daredevil, Born Again. Episode 1 and 2 released last night. So
I'm going to begin.
Not last night. Tuesday night.
No, Tuesday night.
Tuesday night.
Yeah.
I'm going to begin with when they did the announcement at Comic-Con in Hall H. How happy I was. You know, when Feige said, the next show we're going to do, the next thing to round off Phase 5 is the 18 episode. And
I thought they announced it at Disney D23, didn't they?
No, they brought them out on Disney at D23, but they announced it at Hall H.
That's when they announced the Thunderbolts.
Yes, gotcha. But they didn't show any of them yet. But they just said
that's when they announced King Dynasty.
Yes, that is when they announced the Kang Dynasty. But they said, 18 episodes, Daredevil Born Again, and the crowd went crazy, like more than any of the for the movie stuff they were announcing. And just, I was excited. I'm like, oh, finally, 18 episodes, wow, a full season. Not knowing what was going to happen, and how delayed it was going to be.
Writer strikes. This is all pre-writer strike.
Yes, this is all pre-writer strike and stuff. But the excitement that was there.
No, I don't.
No, this is the first one after COVID.
Yeah, this was after. And but I used to say about how I would forever keep subscribing to Netflix just for the Daredevil shows, and I don't have that issue anymore.
Yeah, Netflix, like Daredevil sold subscriptions of Netflix for sure. Like that used to be the #1 show on Netflix, like back in the day, there's been tons of different #1 shows on Netflix since then. Netflix has blown up into this crazy thing, like where anybody can find something that's for them. But but back then when Daredevil was on, like that was the hottest show on that network. And it's not just because it was Marvel, it's because it was so damn good. Yeah. It was so good. Like everybody was like just on fire, like who was making that show. And I think we're 10 years later now, right? This is 10 years since that first episode aired.
It was 2015.
Clarke and I were up at midnight with our headphones on in a party chat on PlayStation so that we could watch it together. I think we watched two or three episodes.
We watched at least 3.
And then we got sleepy. And it was, and I think I took the day off from work just to watch the rest of the show. And I loved it. And for me, it was the coolest thing I had seen in the MCU because, technically, people weren't sure. Is it MCU? Is it not? But for me, it was like, it always felt like it because they were trying to acknowledge it. Ben Urich had, like photos of like the Hulk, Harlem.
They mentioned Thor. And
it was there.
The incident.
It was
very
the
Avengers movie.
Winky.
It was like, hey, it was like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. where we can acknowledge you, but you're probably not going to acknowledge us, right? Like that's kind of how that worked. But no, it was a great show, and I loved it. And I think the second season when that came out, that was a mixed bag because we got the Punisher, John Bernthal, and he stole the show. He really stole the show. And it was an amazing thing to watch him and Charlie Cox perform together. But it was that season was kind of a half, like a split thing where there was 2 stories. So there was a Punisher story for the first half, and then there was this mystical ninja Elektra story for the second half where the hand really started emerging. And I remember being so excited about the idea of that happening. But honestly, when it happened in that show, it kind of felt weird because like the first season was such a grounded in reality kind of experience. It was the most
jumping the shark a little bit.
It felt like jumping the shark, even though we as comic fans knew that it wasn't jumping the shark.
Because this is like pre or post Doctor Strange.
Post. I think that second season is post Doctor Strange. Okay. But I could be wrong.
But you're exactly right. Like as comic fans, we know that the hand and mysticism is part of Daredevil.
Yeah.
And Daredevil has always been on the periphery of like the Marvel universe. He's street level, he stayed street level. Spider-Man, they've elevated because he's such a popular character, and Spider-Man will be part of the Fantastic Four or part of the Avengers. Daredevil will have moments, especially like when they did the new Avengers and they tried to bring him in, but I like how they said no, Matt Murdock will never join this because there's too much baggage. But understandably, for people that collect and read comics, Daredevil is known for some of the greatest comic runs in all of comics.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic character. It's got its own legacy and how the Kingpin shifted from Spider-Man over to Daredevil.
Because they weren't really doing anything with him in Spider-Man world, and so, but
it fit more. But so he's always been part of it and like sort of contained. So even though it was mentioned, they talked about stuff that happened in the MCU there, but it wasn't until we're watching Spider-Man No Way Home and
Hawkeye,
Matt Murdock is there, and like there's the connection, and that's why we were expecting that, and Ben went crazy, and so I do like the connection, but again, I'm perfectly fine having it down. Like I don't need cameos of Doctor Strange popping into.
Ricky does.
I'm actually okay if they bring it in naturally, because Daredevil does interact with people. I mean, heck, Mephisto knows who he is.
Mm-hmm.
In the comics, like Daredevil is a known commodity.
See, I knew Ricky wants it. I knew.
I don't need it, but I like it. But I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some a Hawkeye with Kate, crossover at some point. But I guess we're talking about how much we loved seasons 1, 2, and 3. I guess we should.
Well, I wasn't talking about that. I was saying how I think what the weird thing about season 2 of Daredevil for me is that, like, I love parts of it, but I think even though I had been a fan of the comics, I think the show had taken on a life of its own, and it had become a separate thing in a cool way. In that, like, I liked when we referenced the comics for sure, but sometimes when it did, like, especially with the hand, it felt kind of icky. Like, it felt like, oh, I thought this would look cooler, or I thought this would be cooler, but maybe just go back to the street level stuff, because that was really cool, And so I found myself, in order to find a way to be okay with the show, I had to release it from needing to be like the comic. And I think that was one of the first times where I had done that in this MCU, because, like, it used to be really easy for me to be like nitpicking every MCU project and say, like, well, they did this different, or like, I don't know why we got an Avengers without Ant-Man and Wasp, and things like that. But like for Daredevil, I'm like, maybe let's get away from these hand ninjas, because this is kind of it's not working, right? And then the Defenders was a stinker, right? Like, it was bad.
Yes,
the Defenders was bad, and then Matt supposedly dies at the end of it, and I was like, well, he's gonna come back, and hopefully it's better. And then season 3 came around, and guess what? The writers, everybody knew what people liked about this Daredevil. It's not necessarily even the same thing that people like about comic Daredevil, like, right? They're like, well, let's reset. What do people like? They like street level stuff, and I think they don't actually like the suit. I think they like the black suit better, right? So the 3rd season of Daredevil, he's back in just the cloth black bandana around his head, and until like the last episode, right? I think he puts on the costume in the very last episode.
Yeah.
But it's just Matt, it's Kingpin, it's Karen, it's Foggy, and then it's this cool character that gets added to the show, Bullseye. And the things that happen in that show are really interesting, because like it gets back to like showing you like the inner workings of Kingpin, and how he's this Machiavellian character who can get himself out of prison. And like, it's really funny because that show is like really prophetic about showing you just how easy it is to manipulate the media and manipulate government into becoming your tools, to rise to power. And I did a rewatch of season 3 this year with Lindsay, because she never watched it. And it was really gross to know that show came out in like 2000, like 13 or 14, something like that.
No, it was like 16.
Was it?
The original Daredevil came out in 2015. So
Yeah. Sorry, the last season
So
ended
it
in
had to be
2017. 2017.
It was a year. Okay.
And it was just crazy watching that show and knowing like that it was definitely showing you Trump's playbook back then. And so I'm fast forwarding to now, and we're in Born Again, and it's so funny because like I've seen the internet is quite divided on this new show. I freaking love it because it still is that show. Does it feel creatively a little different? Like, is the pacing different? Is the cinematography different? Are some of the cast of characters different? Yes.
CGI.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But is the tone the same? Is the type of story that they're choosing to tell the same? It is, and it's a little bit more on the nose
It's
than
like
it was back then.
it's X-Men 97 to the
It
X-Men
is, right?
animated. Like it's the same flavor
That's
of
a
the
good
thing,
analogy.
but they're
Yeah.
it is
Well,
it is a different show. It's just, you know.
It's not, I don't think it's a different show in the same way that X-Men 97 would be considered a different show, in that like this show really truly is continuing, and it's respecting everything that you loved about the old show. As much as maybe people might disbelieve that, I really do think that the respect shown in the first 15 minutes of the first episode is quite evident, and then even more in the rest of the show too. But it just it knows narratively that like the times are different now, and things need to be done and handled a little differently. And honestly, I think the other problem like with a lot of shows in general is like once they get into like the fourth, fifth, or sixth season, like they get a little stale because like they're not willing to mix things up a little bit. You know what I mean? And I think like for example, like I know it's a wild comparison, but like Friends, like that show just becomes the most incestuous thing ever because they don't want to add new characters to that show. You know what I mean? Like they just, so by the final seasons of that show, like I'm pretty sure they've all slept with each other. You know what I mean? Like, and it's kind of weird and gross. Like, and I know it's a weird comparison, but like I actually really applaud them for mixing up the supporting cast of this show.
Yeah,
like,
they tossed the Daredevil salad, and you know,
well,
a few extra things.
That means something different than you think. They think you think.
Yeah,
it is.
I think you know, let's talk a little bit about the production. So we know that they had started. They got like about 8 episodes in that were already filmed when they realized they had a problem, and they brought in the new showrunners and such. And so, to your point, that first 20 minutes, I think, is absolutely from the new showrunners when they were like, okay, we need to now connect these two, season 3 and now this new show, and knowing where we were going, and it felt exactly like that. You're right on about, you know, how it had that same feeling, and had that, and then they're like, okay, and now we have this new show that we're gonna have for a little bit, because they had already filmed those episodes. They weren't gonna trash them and such. So I think in the season 2, I didn't get close enough. Season 2 is where we're gonna see a lot more of the new change. You know, the aspects that were done afterwards. For example, part of the criticism that was leveled was that we had 4 episodes of Daredevil and he still wasn't in the costume. That was something that I know was said when they brought up the complaints. So that being said, this new one starts out with that direct connection. You see Daredevil in his costume. You see an epic big fight scene, and you see a big event happen. Are we going with spoilers? Are we doing
spoiler warning, guys? Yeah.
So, you know, Bullseye, who has killed so many people in Daredevil's life, you know, this time, you know, takes out Foggy.
Well, in the comics, he's killed so many people in Daredevil's
life.
In
the comics.
In the show, he only ever killed Father. I forget his name. The priest that had been around for the 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and I always was kind of Father Layton, I think is his name.
Yeah.
I was always kind of weirded out that I was like, that's it, Bullseye? That's all you're gonna do? Like that's a little, I mean, Bullseye.
That's a big one.
It's not that big though. Like they introduced Daredevil's mom in season 3.
Well,
do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I'm saying, like, I thought that mom for sure was gonna get it in that show.
I mean, the fact they killed Ben Urich, which I thought was huge,
but that was season 1, and
that was season 1.
That was the Kingpin, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That was the big shocker, right? And so for me, the Ben Urich one was one of the first times where I'm like, okay, this is going to be different from the comics, you know, because like you don't kill Ben Urich, like he's got to do so many other things. He's got a long life in the comics, but yeah. So that's why I was willing to forgive what Bullseye did in the first episode of Born Again for sure. Is like,
right.
Well, I already got shocked with Ben. Like this is okay now. Like this is fine. Continue what you were gonna say though.
Well, so you know, Born Again, Daredevil's got to fall. I mean, that's the whole concept of Born Again. Mm-hmm. So it's got to be something big and traumatic that starts that process, and we know it's gonna get worse, especially if you read the comics and such. But then, so they introduced this new character, and a new court. So lots of new characters. Daredevil's, you know, Matt's new partner, his new law firm,
McDuffie, Kirsten McDuffie,
and
Cherry the PI.
Yes, Cherry the PI, who saw that Matt was Daredevil.
That's going to be Jessica Jones by the end of next season.
It could be.
It doesn't have to be. Yeah,
but I like, you know, I've always loved. One of the reasons I love Daredevil is the courtroom stuff. It's half the story. I love that Matt Murdock is just as important as Daredevil is. And so starting this new case, which I'm fascinated with, you know, I think this is going to be very interesting. And, you know, we're only 2 episodes in. So, you know, I can't judge the whole show. I'm only judging the first 2 episodes. But by linking it so well to the Netflix stuff, by having that first part at the beginning and then seeing kind of how it's going now with, okay, so here's the new cast, here's the new story, and yet it all still feels like it. And I can't wait to see what Matt Murdock does in court and such.
I couldn't stop thinking of you, Ricky, when the first 15 minutes were playing out, because you insisted on not watching the 3rd season of Daredevil because you're like, I don't want to ruin the new show. And I was like, that doesn't
I don't think
make
it ruins
sense.
anything.
Let me finish what I'm saying. And I think it's really funny that show made no apologies and said like, hey, we're not going to bother to explain Bullseye in this first few minutes. Mm-hmm. We're not going to bother to explain Nelson, Murdock, and Page. We're not going to bother to explain any of this because the assumption is, like it's you just know, like, and we're not even gonna bother to explain Matt's powers in this show. Like we just don't. Why bother? And I really appreciate that show for that. And yeah, it's fine if you still enjoy it because for without watching that. But what I think is really cool is like, if you did enjoy season 3 of Daredevil, and I think a lot of people did, I think that's where a lot of people are split right now at the beginning of this show, because it made you, it covered you with a warm blanket in the first 5 minutes, and then 10 minutes later, that blanket is completely ripped off of you and is peed on and lit on fire and stuff. And you're like, what's happening here? You know, but like, I really appreciate that because they created an experience where like, you're either along for this ride or you should just dip out now. Right. Like that's really how, and I think there's no other way to say it except it's bold. It's quite bold. Like, I know a lot of people have thrown that word around, but I really do feel that is an apt description of what Daredevil Born Again is. It's bold. Does it get everything perfect? No, it doesn't. Like, I don't even care though. Like, bold move.
I would say it's bold for the story that they're telling. I mean, it's there. You've talked about earlier. It's They're doing the Trump playbook as done by
right
Kingpin.
right on the nose.
And
right on the nose.
Yeah,
the
they're
fact
doing
that
it
the
really
show,
well. Yeah.
you know, it's a show they're able to sit with certain moments a little longer, and again, you can see the nastiness that is Kingpin and the parallels that it runs to society. But furthermore, where they're
So
probably
good.
going at the end of the second episode when they show the dirty cop with the Punisher logo tattooed on him.
That was
that's insane. That's crazy.
They're tainting their own brand, right?
They're doing the thing. I mean,
they're acknowledging that their own brand has been appropriated by really bad people in this country, and
that's such like a meta weird Uno reverse card that they could pull, right? Like,
yeah,
because I mean, if you read
they're
the
taking
comics,
it back,
the
right?
Punisher,
they're taking it back, right?
Everyone knows the Punisher's not like a role model. He's
but
he's a cool thing.
But the Punisher also wouldn't condone the things that the people who appropriated him have been doing.
Yes,
right. And that's what's cool is we're potentially getting a story because we know Frank's coming in this season. Frank is coming, and I think there's going to be a reckoning with how people.
It's going to be a look in the mirror for a lot of people.
Yeah. Or they'll completely just ignore it and not understand. It'll go right over their heads, like probably the Trump stuff is too. You know, who knows? But yeah, I freaking love the show. Like, I think it's the best thing that the Marvel TV has put out. I can strongly say right now we're only 2 episodes in, and no, it's not better than X-Men 97. It's not. There's nothing better than X-Men 97 as far as I'm concerned when it comes to these TV shows right now. But am I thoroughly entertained? Yes. Do I forgive the bad special effects that a lot of people are pointing out? Hell yeah. I don't care enough. I don't care enough.
I mean, the flip side of that coin is you're getting a Daredevil that's actually doing Daredevil things.
See, I was just about to say that. I liked them showing him moving the way Daredevil would move.
It's about silhouettes, right? And you get
exactly. And so I didn't care that the special effect. I mean, yeah, I could tell that it's CG stuff.
He swings,
but that's what I wanted. That's something that I actually wanted that I liked in season 2. No, because he didn't get the costume. He didn't get the Billy Club until the end of season 1, which is perfectly fine. And then I liked in season 2, though. I mean, he didn't get the grappling hook until the end of season 2 in the Billy Club, the upgraded one, which is what I wanted and stuff. I mean, because how many iconic comic covers or posters of Daredevil have him flying through the air, holding the Billy Club with the strings, all out and such. I did. I wanted to see him flip and do the gymnastic stuff, and I got that so much by him just running across the rooftops. Again, it's like it was like giving you the juiciest bite, and then going, "Oh dang, there's the spice. There's a jalapeno I didn't know was in there."
Yeah. But I honestly don't even mind because, like, to be fair, like season 1 and 3 both conditioned us, like as Daredevil TV fans, we're perfectly fine with him not rocking that suit for most of the show.
Yeah,
and so much so that they knew that when they made season 3, they're like, we're gonna get rid of the suit because I don't know, it looks a little jank. And people seem to be cool with just like him putting on a black bandana and just running around beating up people, even though he takes way more damage all the time. So I actually like that they really are careful about how much they use the suit in a Daredevil show in general. Mm-hmm. So if the critiques are he's not going to wear it for another 4 episodes, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm really okay with that. What is that? It's going to be April when he's in the suit? Cool.
Well, hey, he's got it. You look at how many knives were stuck out of it.
That was a justification for wearing that suit, though, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Can we just talk about that scene like in detail for a minute? Because like
I like the pacing. I like to see him get tired. The CG, it's not good in parts of that one shot, but it's a oneer.
But we can appreciate that it's a one shot, right?
We can appreciate it's a one shot. I think a highlight for me during that scene is while they're fighting and they're winded, Bullseye's still just like fucking up people just
He's
because.
just murdering innocent bystanders all over the place. Like
it's like a sickness that he has. Like,
yeah, watching that lady when he throws a pool ball and it bounces so many times, it goes off screen, and you're like, "Oh, did he miss?" And then like a second later, it comes back and hits her in the face and knocks her out, and you're like, "Oh man, these poor people." Yeah, no, that whole one shot again. I couldn't even appreciate. I told Clarke before the show, I rewatched the 2 episodes today because like I was so in shock by when Foggy gets shot. Like I love it. Don't get me wrong. I wasn't mad or anything, but I was so in shock that I couldn't even absorb a lot of the things that happened in that first episode fully. And so rewatching it today, I was like, oh, that's a one shot. Like it's like, oh, I didn't realize, like, you know, like when Daredevil tosses a Bullseye off the roof, that was also shocking too, right? Like it's like, whoa, he just tried to murder this man. But when he hits the ground and you're watching Karen and she's just like, she's startled, right? Because she's already there mourning Foggy because he's dead. And then she hears another body hit the floor and she is terrified to turn around and see who it is because there's a 50-50 chance it's Matt, right? And in that instance, she may have lost everyone important to her in her life. And the acting that Deborah Ann Woll does, like turning around slowly, seeing that it's Bullseye, and then being like, okay, I'm going to go back to screaming my head off about Foggy. You know what I mean? Like that whole scene is so gorgeous. And like, even when it starts with like, you know, the silly bar, like antics, like where the camera's switching back and forth between Cherry and Foggy, and they're both talking to these women at the bar. And you don't even realize that there's a passing of the torch happening right here, right? Like the camera is giving equal time to Daredevil's most trusted confidant, and then we're getting equal time given to the person who's about to become his new confidant, right? And so that scene starts with those two and it ends with Foggy dying and Cherry showing up right at Matt's greatest moment of weakness. And then fast forward a year later and we've seen that Cherry chose to be with him. And I think that's such a beautifully executed scene that like I feel sad for every time I go on TikTok and I see people just upset about killing Foggy, because like what more did you want from Foggy? He got a really good arc in the third season.
I need my multiversal Foggy story where he meets Jon Favreau
and also, like, if it helps, like the producers have already said that Eldon's coming back in season 2.
Yeah,
that doesn't mean he's coming back to life, but it doesn't not mean that either. You know what I mean? So
it could be fun. Yeah.
Like here's as a reminder, anytime somebody dies in a Batman story, you have to remember that that's a world where the Lazarus pits exist. And so nobody ever really stays dead. Well, in Daredevil, guess what? They have the hand. and those people come back all the freaking time. So I don't know. I just don't really, I'm not saying I'm holding out hope for Foggy coming back, but like I do know that the producers understood when fans rioted, like basically on the same scale of Sonic the Hedgehog, and like, you can't do this show without Foggy and Karen, you know, like, so yeah, but they're not. I mean, like, I don't think they are gonna do it without.
No, and I'm okay with having that. They're going to be out for a little bit, but these new producers, they're bringing them back. Maybe most of this first season, you know,
however long it is.
Karen's in San Francisco, you know, so we know. I mean, maybe he wants to go and visit She-Hulk again, and I don't know.
The point is they don't have to be there. They don't have to be the main characters of this show. I'm fine with that. Like, I'm fine with that because I know that there will become a time where those actors will show up, and it will remind you that, like, hey, we do care. We do care about the old show, and this Matt is that Matt, but he's also a changed man now because he lost the people that were his support system, and so he has to rebuild a new support system.
And that opening it let me have the faith in the showrunners and the directors that, you know what, they love this character, they love these characters. Now it's in their hands. I'm okay with that.
And they want to say, and they love Wilson Fisk too.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to say one thing, about that scene, just because I saw a behind the scenes interview with the two directors, and when they did the scene where you're first seeing Matt use his hearing, and it does the aspect shifts.
Cool.
So they said they had three different cameras on a dolly. So they had three different cameras at three different aspects,
and they stitched it together.
And they still did a dolly zoom, and that's how they stitched all that together, going from Matt's world to what he was listening to, the focus. And rewatching that scene, film students are going to analyze that camera technique.
It's so beautiful,
because it was such a good representation. I mean, and then they to use the lens flare, because you noticed that the lens flare stuck on his ear when he was using the ear. And then kind of moved, and I was just blown away again by how they showed his powers without showing his powers, like little sonar, things.
So
I trust these guys, these directors now.
So Clarke, you're the person that introduced me to Daredevil, because I never bothered to read it as a kid. And you were quite surprised that I never did. And so you gave me the Kevin Smith, Joe Quesada run of Daredevil. And I read that and I really loved it. And I thought it was super cool. And I was like, oh, I think I like Daredevil. And then, a few years later, I decided to continue that journey. And I went in and I decided to read the comics that came after it. And so I started collecting the Brian Michael Bendis run. Like I bought all of the run. So I have his entire run. So I think I go all the way up to like Daredevil number 100 is where I got to it. And I think Bendis left right before 100 and it became Ed Brubaker. But anyways, the point I was trying to make is like, I still loved Daredevil, even though it was no longer Kevin Smith and Joe Quesada that were in charge of that. Like the art was beautiful. They had their own rhythm, they had their own thing going on. But when it became Bendis and Alex Maleev, which I think that's the art you have on your shirt, right? Is Alex Maleev. I was like, okay, this is different, but it's still Daredevil, and I still really like it. And I think, as comic book readers, I think that happens to us a lot, right? We go through different creative teams, but we still find that like there's a core at the core. There is the character that we love and we still enjoy, and they may tell stories differently. They may draw things differently. They may choose to focus on different characters, but it's still that character. And so like when I was watching all those little things that you were talking about, like, I saw the bad CG, but I also saw the really cool stuff, like that dolly, like, zoom. I saw the lens flares. And I was like, ooh, these are different. I kind of like this. This hits different, and it started making me realize I'm watching a different writer and artist do Daredevil, and I'm totally fine with that because I've experienced that in my life, and it's wonderful. Like every time you get to see a new person interpret Daredevil, oh man, David Mack doing Daredevil is one of the most amazing things ever.
The key is that all of them loved the character and respected the character.
And that's what I feel right now.
I don't mean to get off on other fandoms and stuff, but that's what drives fans nuts when they announce a new show and the new main writer goes, well, I've never watched any episodes of that character, and I want to take it in a new direction. It drives us nuts when we just know they haven't, they don't have any connection. So, and I totally agree with you. I don't mind different flavors as long as they still have that love and care. Later on in Daredevil, when Mark Waid took over as head writer, he brought the fun back into Daredevil, and people were like, "Whoa!" Like Daredevil was frisky, it wasn't as depressing, and that was just a different version of Daredevil, though. And so for this, yeah, I don't mind the new girlfriend. I don't mind the new partner. Then again, it's only been 2 episodes, but we'll see.
Maybe Bullseye breaks out and kills one of them. Like
It's very possible. We haven't seen all the new villains yet. That the new villain that's in it, was it Pulse, or I don't even know that villain.
Muse.
Is it Muse? Yeah, I don't even know him.
Neither do I. It's after I read the comics, for sure.
Yeah. So I'm excited. We'll see, and we'll see how much White Tiger, has to do with this and such. And
yeah, just a quick question for you guys. Like, so we're fast forwarding to the end of the second episode, which was nuts because Matt goes and saves the person that White Tiger was trying to rescue.
That last fight scene, I will say
that was awesome. But like, did Matt kill those guys?
I think so.
Do you think he did? I think that's a topic
I think he
of
broke
debate.
Some bones.
That guy fell on his neck hard.
I mean, the blocking of that fight's bad, like the way it's filmed. But I did like what the fight is in that story, and the fact that they like called his bluff, right? Because like they punch him, and it's almost like you wouldn't hit a guy with glasses.
Well, they called his bluff hard.
And then they keep punching him, and then he has to sit there and take it, right?
He does.
Up until like the last minute. And
when the gun comes out, right?
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay,
please don't do this. Please don't do this. And they don't even understand what he's begging them for, right? They think clearly these guys have killed innocent people before. They think he's begging for his life. He's not.
But he's begging for their lives. He's begging for theirs, but he's also, you get the sense that he understands like the consequences of what he's about to do.
I do want to see. That's one of the first things I want to know with the next episode, because that was the question. Did he have to kill them to keep his secret identity clear? I honestly don't know for sure, because again, this is another, as we said, it's a different take on Daredevil.
Or how incriminating is it if he leaves them unconscious and they wake up and they go and spin a new lie that the witness beat the crap out of them, and got away. You know what I mean? Like, that's even worse for
or another vigilante. They blame it on somebody else. Spider-Man, for example.
Yes,
I'm happy there was a Spider-Man nod in the show. I know the legal reasons why a Spider-Man cannot appear in this show. I don't need a Spider-Man to appear from the show, but I think you can do a la End of Gotham, a man on a rooftop in a suit, or you do the inverse of like Daredevil just happens into an alley and there's a shit ton of web there. guys are just webbed up.
You need it so bad, don't you? You need it. It's okay. I know that
New York's not that big.
We're gonna get Spider-Man and Daredevil together in a movie. I believe that. I believe it's gonna happen. I don't think you're gonna get it on the show, but that's okay. It's okay. Like, but you know what we did get on the show, and I didn't even catch it the first time. We got 2 freaking F-bombs. Yeah. We got 2 F-bombs in the first episode, and I was so enthralled the first time I watched it, I didn't even hear them. And the second time I was like, I paused it and I was like, did they just drop an F-bomb? And then I was like, oh my God, they did. And then I let the show play even longer. And then Daredevil's girlfriend drops one at the end of the show. And I'm like, what is going on here? Like, I didn't even notice these things. And it made me so happy. Not because I just like to hear swearing and stuff like that, but it's because, like, I'll say it over and over again. Like, that's the one thing I can't handle about that Punisher show is the amount of brutal violence that happens, and not a single person says anything beyond like asshole. And I'm like, come on, guys. When you're getting your face raked across a broken glass, you're gonna start swearing like a pirate. It's just gonna happen. All right. And so I just think, like, when I started hearing people talk like New Yorkers for reals in a universe where we've been exposed to New York a lot, and I've never heard a single F-bomb in all of the New York we've been in, it actually felt like, oh, and this is Disney Plus. This is crazy. Like, this is, so for me, it just made their New York in these 2 episodes feel more real than all the New York we've gotten before. You know what I mean? And I know that's a weird hill to, like, you know, die on or whatever, but I really did appreciate, I wouldn't say it was a liberal use of swearing. It was just the right amount to make you realize, like,
A little sprinkle.
Yeah, a little sprinkle. Like, you're like, okay, all right, I see it. I see you. Yeah. And then you know, there's other characters that are interesting. Like, is that James Gandolfini's son, Michael Gandolfini?
Yes.
Like, okay. He's pretty interesting. I don't know what's happening here with him. BB
I also
Urick's
liked
another
Vanessa. How
Ricky told me she was getting recast.
What?
And then she did not get recast.
Thought she was recast.
No,
Okay,
I read it's actually a trivia piece I found here. She was recast originally, but when the fans found out about it, the producers decided to go back and get the original actress instead.
Well,
so
that sucks for the other actress.
Yeah, it does suck for the other actress for sure. But yeah, I'm so happy she's back because, like, you know, we don't have Foggy and Karen, so at least we have Vanessa. You know, like, that's. But I think that's important because we actually barely got any Vanessa in the second and third seasons of the show.
Their interplay now with them in counseling is kind of cool. And I also like how how did Kingpin, how is he free?
Yeah, we're not going to get that. But see, I thought about that and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to put that on this show. You know why I'm not going to put that on the show? Because Hawkeye's the one that opened that can of worms. That's for Hawkeye to explain. Like, what? You can't just bring him out and not tell us how he got out of jail. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm willing to forgive because he's been out of jail for several years now, right? Like, it's Hawkeye and Echo.
Mm-hmm.
And Echo, yeah.
To that point, I mean, it is cool that his like off-screen shenanigans are like, and Vanessa's all over here running this business
and sleeping with somebody else too.
Yeah,
which is like, ooh, can't wait for that guy's head to get bashed in a car door. Like, that's happening this season. I'm just waiting until we meet Adam, whoever this Adam guy is. It's going to be great. But yeah, to your point, Ricky, I mean, that is one of the I wouldn't say plot holes, but it's one of the mysteries of the connection of because obviously they committed, right? They said, okay, this is the Netflix stuff. In case you weren't sure, it is that, because here's Bullseye. It's the exact same guy that you met and got to grow with in the last show. But we are going to gloss over the part where Kingpin went to prison for many years and supposedly for
now I'm going to say something that will sound like Ricky. I was very glad that Bullseye didn't die because they can bring him back. And I'm sorry, I want a proper Bullseye costume.
Yeah, no, that costume
at this point,
that costume was ass.
It was.
It was bad.
I mean, Colin Farrell looked better than that guy.
I forgave him because I'm like, you're coming back. You're coming back, you know?
Yeah.
By the way, Ricky, in case you weren't sure why he survived that fall.
Surgery, right?
At the last scene of Daredevil season 3 is him getting surgery and getting a special skeleton graft into his onto his body.
Adamantium.
But it's not adamantium.
Not yet.
Because it was 2017 before adamantium was introduced in 2025. So,
but adamantium's there now.
But again, they don't bother to explain that in this show, right? Because there's like,
do they ever say who pays for surgery, or he just gets?
No, it's just like it's a post-credit scene, and you're like, what's happening here?
Hey, there are plenty of people who would want an assassin.
Yeah, like exactly. I mean, for real though, like, you can't deny the quality. Like,
I mean,
Daredevil had like
thunderbolts.
Daredevil, I know, right? Daredevil had like 7 knives in his body, dude. Like, that was pretty impressive.
And you saw how much he blocked.
I know.
That was
a lot. Yeah,
it was great. I loved that scene.
I did not like that. Like, I can't decide. Did he miss Karen or did he intend to shoot those other guys around Karen? Was he playing with his food? Was he playing with his food?
I think he was playing with it. I think he was playing with his food.
I have seen some people say, like, hey, just as a reminder, the bullseye at the end of season 3 was way more pissed at Wilson than he was at Daredevil. But
yes.
But so what?
But
they're kill, right?
He would still take them. Yeah.
They're way easier to kill. But Wilson wears bulletproof jackets and stuff as a reminder. So, just saying. But yeah, no, we could keep going on for forever and ever. I don't want to ruin that. Like, I think we're at a place right now where we all in agreement that there was more good than bad here.
100%.
Yeah.
No, I'm very happy. Solid A for me so far, and I can't wait for the rest of the season.
What do you give it, Ricky?
Solid, like 7.
Really?
7 out of 10. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I would give it at least an 8.5. Like, it was strong. It was strong. Like, rewatching that first 15 minutes was just like
this show can be a 10 if it sticks landing,
right?
Yeah. Where X-Men was like, it's one thing. It's like the issue I think a lot of people had with like Falcon and Winter Soldier. They were dealing with some interesting themes there, but they never
didn't land it, right?
They never didn't land it. It was very surface.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but it was cool to get these things introduced. But you kind of want to take them a little step further, and that's where X-Men really shines. Is they really start digging deeper into some of the analogies that they're playing with.
They went there.
But it is hard to. I mean, X-Men 97 is, we've all agreed, is the best thing that Marvel has done in the last few years.
Marvel TV for sure,
Marvel TV for sure and stuff. So sure, if you want to have that, as the top, but we just acknowledge that was just.
But Daredevil is on a path to get there for sure.
The Punisher thing. They're swinging for the fences. They really are.
And the Kingpin thing.
So if they can land those and really like have something to say about those dynamics,
I think it's almost like Daredevil wins if Trump makes a comment about how stupid it is, right? Like, if he actually like goes on Twitter and he's like, "This show is trash."
I don't. The Punisher killing a bunch of cops would be like. Would be kind of
I don't.
I mean that rooftop discussion in season 2 between them, which was just top, and I think you're right. I think this is. I can't wait for Frank to get in on this, and
the table's set, honestly, for them.
But yeah. They it's theirs to fail, right?
Yes,
is what it really is. Like, I'm not rooting for them to fail, but I do understand for all the fans that are still not sold. Yes, they could botch this entirely, or they could take this all the way to a win for sure. Like, it's still too early to tell, but I really just enjoyed the potential of what's there right now. And yeah. I'm excited.
And this is working with somebody else's recipe.
Yeah,
I mean, this first part, I can't wait.
Selling point, like,
I know. Well, my point is, I'm actually even almost more excited about season 2, just because this set of creators showed us what they can do with, just that first part, and then how they're adapting others. So we know they had to work with. They had to re-season. They had to.
Right.
Send it back to the kitchen for a little bit.
Which is hilariously the opposite of X-Men 97, right? Like, I'm very terrified for season 2 of that one.
Yes.
For sure. Like, that's
a whole different cook, different recipe.
Yeah. But in any case, we got what, 8 more weeks of this? This is gonna be great. Or no, 6 more weeks, right?
Yeah, 6 more weeks.
6 more weeks. No, 7.
Well,
we did 2 episodes.
I'm respectfully asking to claim my spot for at the end when this season finishes. I would love to discuss with you guys at the end how we feel about the whole season.
All right, cool.
Pencil you in.
I know this will not be the last bit of Daredevil that we will talk, because
But you better
it's
be
a
wearing
character.
a different Daredevil shirt on that day.
That's fair.
Okay, cool.
Even
All
though
right.
you wear that Daredevil for everything too.
I love
I
this
know
team,
you
but
love it.
But I do have another shirt as well.
I think I have another Daredevil, but I will make sure.
Okay, cool.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
I wore the other shirt while I watched the show, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will they wear different shirts next time? You have to tune in next week to find out.
All right. I guess we know what we're talking about next week.
I
More
guess we know
Harley
what we're-
Quinn.
More Harley Quinn.
Yes.
All right, true believers. Enough.